Today's overview of the Maryland Department of the Environment's Guide for Benchmarking an Energy Star Portfolio Manager. This video will cover how to create an account in Portfolio Manager, add a property, add meters and enter utility data, connect and share with other users, manage data quality, special MDE exclusions, and some additional information for campuses and properties with district energy. We'll begin today's demo on the Energy Star site, where we'll go through the steps to create a Portfolio Manager account. First, you'll navigate to the benchmarking page from the Commercial Buildings dropdown. On the right-hand side of the benchmarking page, you'll see a box to log into Portfolio Manager, as well as a link to create a new account. Clicking that link will take you to the Create an Account page within the Portfolio Manager tool, where you'll be prompted to enter a username, a password, and some information about yourself. I'll note that while you can change your password at any time, usernames are permanent and cannot be changed. Further down on this page, you can enter information about your organization or company, and you'll be asked if you want your account name and username to be searchable by others. In order to share benchmarking data with MDE, which we'll get to later in the demo, you'll want to select Yes here. This does not, however, make any of your data or building details public. Once you've completed all the fields, you'll click Create My Account at the bottom of the page. For the purposes of today's demo, we'll move back into my existing account. After logging in, Portfolio Manager opens on the My Portfolio tab, which displays a list of the properties you've created or have been shared with you. You'll note here that I have a variety of test properties that I've created. I'll also point out that Portfolio Manager is set up with a tab structure to make navigating the tool easier. In addition to the My Portfolio tab, you'll see that there are tabs for sharing, reporting, and recognition. In the upper right-hand corner, there are also pages for settings, notifications, contacts, and help. We'll review those additional pages later on in the demo. To create a property, we'll click the Add a Property button on the left-hand side of the page. Then you'll be asked to answer some basic questions about the property, including the property type, the number of buildings, and the construction status. Today, we'll be benchmarking a single office building, so I'll select Office, and then 1. The construction status will usually be existing. However, Portfolio Manager does have functions to create properties that are in the design phase, as well as test properties if you'd like to play around with the features of the tool. Then we'll click Get Started. The next page asks for some additional property information, including the name of the property, the address, the year built, gross floor area, irrigated area, and occupancy. For today, we'll type in sample information. Occupancy is the percentage of your property's gross floor area that is occupied and operational. For an office, occupancy is a measure of the tenant spaces that are leased. For example, if you have a 10-story building and one floor is vacant and the other 9 floors are fully leased, then the occupancy would be 90%. If 50% of the gross floor area is vacant, then the occupancy would be 50%. If your building occupancy fluctuates, you can calculate the average occupancy over a year. Say the building was 50% occupied for the first half of the year and then 100% occupied for the second half, the occupancy level for the building would be 75% for the year. We have more information about occupancy best practices for different property types on the Portfolio Manager FAQ page. For today, I'll select 90%. I'll also note that the metrics in blue can be hovered over or clicked on for more information. Data section on standard IDs. For MDE, you'll be using a unique building identifier, or UBID, which can be found in the Standard ID Other dropdown. For today, we'll enter a UBID corresponding with the Maryland State House. To find your building's UBID, visit the MDE BEPS portal and view the covered building list. You can search for your building by address, county, or other filters. Once you identify your building, copy and paste the UBID into the Standard ID box in Portfolio Manager. If your property is not listed on the covered building list, but meets the definition of a covered building, create an account on the BEPS portal and submit a request for a UBID. You can continue the benchmarking process while your UBID is generated and come back to add it later. Finally, Portfolio Manager asks a couple of additional questions about the property. Whether or not the property's energy consumption includes parking areas, if there is a significant data center on site, and if there are retail stores or restaurants present. These questions change slightly depending on the property type. Then we'll click Continue. On the next page, set up a property, how is it used, enter building use details such as gross floor area, operating hours, and number of workers for each property use type. Gross floor area is the only requirement for Maryland BEPS. If you are unsure of any values, use your best estimate or select Use a Default. Then click Add Property. Brought to the property's profile page in Portfolio Manager, and you'll note the green banner indicating that the property was created successfully. Property pages are arranged in a similar tab structure, including the Summary tab, Details tab, Energy tab, Water tab, Waste and Materials tab, Goals tab, and Design tab. The Summary tab provides an overview of the property, including address information, metric summary tables, a link to the data quality checker, and an overview of the users that this property is shared with. You'll note that the summary tables are blank because we haven't entered any data yet. I'll also point out the Portfolio Manager Property ID, which was generated when we created an account. This is a unique ID assigned to each building in Portfolio Manager and can be a useful way to identify Portfolio Manager properties if you manage more than one. The Details tab provides an overview of the building details that we entered when setting up the property. The property's construction status, property use details, gross floor area breakdown, and standard ID information is available from this tab. If you have to come back to add your building's UBID, this is where you'll enter it. You can also add property use types at any time on this tab by clicking the Add Another Type of Use dropdown. Select the property type and then click Add. You'll then enter use details similar to how we set up the initial property. Some properties include multiple use types, such as restaurants and hotels, gyms and apartment buildings, and salons in senior living communities. As a general rule, if a certain use commonly occurs in the type of property being benchmarked, do not break it out as a separate property use type. If the property use type matters for an exclusion under Maryland BEPS, which we'll cover later on, or it accounts for a substantial amount of floor area, you can break it out so that your performance standards are area weighted between the types. The Energy tab is where we'll create energy meters and upload utility data. To meet the BEPS requirements, you must enter how much energy your building consumes into Portfolio Manager. Electric and gas companies in Maryland must provide you with your aggregate whole building energy data within 90 days of a request in 2025 and 30 days in subsequent years. They will provide it in one of two ways, through an upload spreadsheet or a direct upload into your Portfolio Manager account. As part of this data request process, you will need to work with your utility to confirm that all meters for your building, including those of tenants, are included. If your building has 5 or more tenants, you can request aggregated whole building energy data without needing tenant authorization. If your building has 4 or fewer tenants, you will need to obtain permission from the tenants via a form or their lease. To learn more about the data request process for your utilities, review the Connecting with Your Energy Data Provider guidance document available on the Maryland BEPS portal. Building owners should request their data at least 90 days ahead of the reporting deadline in 2025 to ensure that they are in compliance. Click Add a Meter on the right-hand side of the Energy tab. Then, select the type of energy that this meter will track, as well as the number of meters. Make sure to include all fuel types for your building. Today, I'll create one electric meter that is purchased from the grid. Then, click Get Started. On the About Your Meters page, click to select the type of units your meter uses and the date the meter became active. You can also change the name of your electric meter on this page by clicking the meter name box. If your building uses energy such as delivered fuel, select the Enter as Delivery checkbox on this page. Then click Create Meters. Next, Portfolio Manager asks if this meter accounts for the total energy consumption for the building. We're going to create another meter to cover natural gas usage later, so I will select the lower button, indicating that this meter covers partial energy loads for tenant and common areas. I'll select that this meter accounts for tenant cooling, tenant electricity, common area cooling, and common area electricity. Then click Apply Selections. The next page is where you will upload spreadsheet data. Scroll down to the Upload Data in Bulk for this meter section and select Choose File. Then select the file you would like to upload from your computer library. Then click Upload and Portfolio Manager will automatically populate the monthly entries table. Confirm that start and end dates, usage values, and units are correct. You can also enter or edit data manually by clicking Click to add an entry and typing in the desired start date, end date, and usage. You can also click Add another entry. Cost data and other columns in blue are optional fields. Once you've confirmed that all this data is correct, click Save Bills. Now, we'll return to the Energy tab where we'll create a second meter to cover natural gas usage. You'll follow the same steps as before to add another meter. This time, you'll select natural gas and indicate how many meters you'd like to create. Then we'll click Get Started. You'll follow the same process, entering the units and the date that the meter became active, and you can also change the meter name. Then click Create Meters. Now, we will indicate that these meters account for the total energy consumption for the test office, so we can change our response from before. Then we'll click Apply Selections. We'll use the same method to upload this data and click Upload to enter the spreadsheet that we received from the utility. This will populate the table, and once we review that the data is correct, we'll click Save Bills. Back on the Energy tab, you'll see the 2 meters that we just created, as well as a summary chart indicating energy use. We'll click Refresh Chart to populate the graph. If your property contains a space type that should be excluded according to Maryland BEPS because it is submetered, such as an electric vehicle charging station, a food service facility, or a parking area, you will need to exclude this usage from your property. If the space type is separately metered, simply omit the usage type and energy consumption. To exclude submetered usage, we will create a negative meter. To create a negative meter, navigate to the Energy tab and click Add a Meter. On the next page, we'll select the type of energy that the space consumes. Then, similarly, we'll select the units as well as the date that the meter became active. Rename this meter to reflect the type of space that you're excluding. For our purposes today, we'll call this EV charging station excluded energy. Click Create Meters. On the next page, we will enter meter entries as negative values. A warning box will appear indicating that negative values have been entered. Select the second justification option. You can review the Energy Star Portfolio Manager EV Charging Technical Reference for more information. Then click Save Bills. For buildings with on-site generation, such as solar and wind, the energy produced by this generation needs to be properly accounted for. Per the requirements of the regulation, electric and gas companies shall ensure that the consumption values delivered to the building owner capture total gross grid electricity consumption as metered by the electric or gas company rather than net or net metered consumption of grid electricity. However, this is only half of the equation, and building owners need to track their total on-site generation and include energy consumed by their building from their on-site generation that is not exported to the grid in their reported energy use. For more information, You can review Portfolio Manager's guidance. Next, we'll review the connecting and sharing process in Portfolio Manager. To share a property with MDE, you must first be connected with MDE as a contact. To send a connection request, go to the Contacts page in the upper right-hand corner of Portfolio Manager. This page shows the profile's current contacts and indicates the contact's name, organization, connection status, and username. To connect with MDE, click Add New Contacts. In the username field, type MD-BEPS in all caps and click Search. I am already connected with MD-BEPS, but for a new contact, you'll click a Connect button in place of where my connected indicator is. When the connection request is sent, the MDE account will receive a notification. Once MDE accepts your connection request, confirmation will be received on your Portfolio Manager Contacts page. You must receive MDE's confirmation in your account before proceeding to the next steps where you will share your property. You can also check the notifications page to see if MDE has accepted your connection request. Once MDE accepts your connection request, you can share your property or multiple properties with MDE's Portfolio Manager account. To share, we'll go to the Sharing tab. On the Sharing tab, click Share with your utility or service provider for exchanging data. Under the Select People section, select the MD-BEPS account. If you do not see the MD-BEPS account listed in this dropdown, confirm that you've connected with them and that they have accepted your connection request on the Contacts page. Then, select the properties that you want to share by clicking the Select Properties button. This will bring a pop-up of all the properties in your account. Today, we'll select the test office that we created earlier. Then click Apply Selection. You can also select more than one property from that pop-up. Under the Choose Permission section, select the Personalized Sharing and Exchange Data option and click Set Permissions. On the next page, click the Read-Only Access and Exchange Data radio buttons, then click Share Properties. After you share your property, you will receive 2 alerts on the notification page. Once when the share request is sent to MDE, and again when MDE has accepted your sharing request. Once the MDE account has accepted your sharing request, compliance with the BEPS regulation will be determined based on your Portfolio Manager account information by the reporting deadline. It is important to note that sharing your property with MDE establishes a constant connection. You can change your property's building details, upload utility data, or make other changes, but data will not be pulled from your property profile until the annual reporting deadline. Establishing a sharing connection also means that you will not need to reshare your property each year. Finally, we'll review some of the data quality features in Portfolio Manager. After you enter your property information and energy use, building owners must ensure it has been correctly entered into Energy Star Portfolio Manager. Per the requirements of Maryland BEPS, beginning in 2025, building owners must report data from the previous calendar year, which is defined as January 1st to December 31st. The department will determine compliance based on the data shared as of the annual benchmarking deadline. Prior to the annual benchmarking deadline each year, building owners must check the accuracy of their data using the Data Quality Checker found in the Summary tab of a Property and Energy Star Portfolio Manager. The Data Quality Checker identifies errors in data such as missing information, overlaps, gaps, or very high or low values. To run the Data Quality Checker, scroll down on the Summary tab of the property you wish to review and click Check for possible errors. Then, identify the desired timeframe. In most cases, this should align with the reporting timeframe you are uploading data for. I will select a year-ending date of December 31st, 2024 to review all data entered during 2024. Then, click Run Checker. The Data Quality Checker notices that I have not entered water or waste and materials meters. These are not required per Maryland BEPS. No issues were found with the data I entered for my electric, natural gas, and EV charging station meters. In 2026 and every 5 years thereafter, verification of the accuracy of the data entered into Portfolio Manager is required. This first review will cover calendar year 2025 data. A third-party verifier must perform this verification to ensure the credibility of your building's energy benchmarking data. Building owners will need to add a licensed professional to their Portfolio Manager profile for data verification. To add the verification professional's information to a property, navigate to the Details tab in Portfolio Manager and scroll to the Verification section at the bottom of the page. Click Add Verification Information. Here, you'll enter the information for the verifying individual, including the license number, and click Save. That brings us to the end of today's demo. Please visit the Maryland BEPS website or Energy Star Portfolio Manager training page for any questions.